Hello, this is Carrie Myton here, and I am really excited to spend some time with you today to talk about sales and getting inside sales and finding sales that you have currently in your business that are sitting there and we're just waiting for you to pick them up. I'm going to go through a lot in this presentation, and we're going to specifically be covering um, where to identify sales that are lying around in your business that all you have to do is basically just pick them up. So I'm going to go through some case studies of different ways that we have found them, and I'll share a little bit about me, and we're going to go for about 30 minutes. Okay, now this is a recorded presentation, so you are welcome to fast forward or move along as quickly as you want. And basically, at the bottom of this screen or video, depending upon where you're watching, there's a button and there's a link that you can actually, if you like what you hear, you think that I might be able to support you, or you think that you need a little bit more help, where you can actually book in a time to connect directly with me to have a sales strategy session to see if there's something that we can do to support you as well. So let's jump in. So basically, I just want to share one thing about me. Certain people have their thing. I'm sure as you started your business, you absolutely love what you do and you're very passionate about it. And the one thing that I've learned about sales is it's something that I absolutely love doing. So it's something that I could do. You know, someone asked me the other day if you were to do something if you could do anything for the rest of your life and you would do it for free, what would it be? And I love my kids and I love my husband and I love my family and I do enjoy spending time with them. And outside of that, literally, if there was something that I would do all day, every day, I could just get in and do sales all day, every day. And the reason is I think when someone actually decides to trust and work with you or spend money with you or take what you're doing to the next step, it literally is a mark of your ability to help people make decisions for themselves that are going to make a really positive impact. So if you believe in your product and if you love what you do, then it's a really good indication that it's going to be very, very easy for you to sell. And for me, that's what sales is all about. Sales is all about love, and sales is all about making sure that, you know, when you do something or when you give something to someone that you really absolutely love it. So I'm going to share my love and my passion for sales. And I hope that as you hear my, love that I have for it, you can see the little tiniest things that you might not be doing in your business or that you did when you first started and it was just like avalanches of sales came in that basically either you or your team need to start doing. And that's generally what it is. You're missing little bitty pieces that just reconnect with people and help them reconnect to your brand or your message or your business that makes them love it as much as you do. So just a little bit about me as to what I've done in my past and what's brought me to where I am today. When I was 25, I sold my IT company. I started in IT back when I was 20. Ended up being a owner inside of an IT company, and from there I realized that I'm not really a network engineer, but I learned a lot about IT. I know a lot about systems, and at 25, I decided that it wasn't what I really, really loved doing, but I was very fortunate because I actually was able to sell my interest in the company, and we built that company to over $1 million US, and it was worth over $1 million US. We did some really creative things. I can share it with you later if you're interested. Basically, uh, after I left my IT company, that was 2008. There was a big recession, as many of you know. Literally, I left my company May 2008, and then in November 2008, they had the big stock market crash, which hit the US really, really hard. And basically, I took some time off, and I ended up in 2010. I got bored, and I decided that if there was one thing that I could go back and do, that if I, just picked one thing that I actually enjoyed doing and one thing that I wanted to keep doing, it was that I really enjoyed meeting with people and getting to know people. And for 6 years straight, when I was in my position in Atlanta, I was told for quite some time that I wasn't very good at sales. So I said, well, if I can master anything and if I can be really good at sales, then I really will be on to something, because that's the one thing where I don't have to manage too many people, and I wasn't very good at managing engineers. So I focused on sales, and as a result of that, I ended up on the phone and I did a lot of phone sales, and it was right after the recession. So it was a tough economic client. And as a result, I've actually sold more than $30 million in front end how to programs on the phone. And that's where I really learned a lot about people and how people make decisions and how to make sure you really look after people. And I learned a lot about sales in general. I've spent more than 10,000 hours on the phone selling. I've done thousands of presentations, and I've literally been brought every company that's brought me in that I actually end up working like a sales director or sales manager with. I've more than two times their revenue within the span of 3 to 12 months. So it's very fast, very quick, because I absolutely do really love sales. And I really like jumping in and figuring out where the sales are. So I'm very good at finding them fast. My business consults, I have a team that supports, and we have done for you options. So our company works where if you need someone to come in and you already have a team, we come in and I become your sales director or your sales manager, for either a span of time, or if you want to keep me around, you can keep me around. If you don't quite have a team, then we have a team that can come and support you, either getting sales appointments or getting event attendees if that's what you need, or if you just need someone to help keep you closing if you're a smaller company, or if you have a really good salesperson on your team, we can help you build up your systems on the front end and a little bit of team if you need it, to be able to help that one or two people stay in their closing space. Or if you're a property company, or an investment company or a financial services company, we have an arm of our company that just does done for you event attendees and done for you sales appointments in the specific property space. Now, just a little bit about me. These are a few of the different companies that have brought me in, and all of them bring me in to just fix one thing. And we've made some really massive headway across the companies, from the NDIS sector with Guide Dogs Australia. I literally went head to head and outsold Jordan Belfort on his Wolf of Wall Street tour. I've worked with Simon Reynolds, Laura Langmeyer, John DeMartini, Brian Tracy, Les Brown. I've worked with Global One, Knowledge Source, Commonwealth Bank, 2 Men in a Truck. I'll share their case study. The Lucy Rose Clinic will also share their case study. And literally all of these people come to me for just one thing, right? So they're either looking for more sales appointments, or they're looking for more sales, or they're looking for more event attendees, or whatever it is that helps them basically get in front of more people or close more sales or stay in or just generate more high profit, right? So one of the number one things that my goal is, after having been a part of the recession in 2008, I really saw a lot. And in Australia, we're a very lucky country. We really didn't get hit by the recession. And I mean, I know a lot of people think that we had a GFC, but we really didn't have a GFC here, not compared to what happened in the U.S. You'd walk into you'd walk into a restaurant and nobody would be there at 7 o'clock. And you're talking one of the top restaurants, or one of the nice, not like super nice, but a casual dining restaurant where you would think that they would be full of people. You walk to the Walmart parking lot and it was full. The Target parking lot was full, but nobody was ever out to eat because they were hit so hard. And one of the things that I learned very quickly in this climate was it's very important for businesses to be able to recession-proof their marketing and recession-proof their sales. So if today you totally and completely stopped marketing, will your business keep going, right? Like if you just turned off any marketing that you're doing, if you're doing any, calling, if you're doing any advertising, Facebook advertising, Google advertising, any of those things, if you stop today, would your business keep going? And this is a really powerful question because it helps you see the strength of your sales and the strength of your sales systems and the strength of your processes internally. A lot of people in Australia and a lot of businesses in Australia, if you were to stop marketing today, what would your fallback be? And a lot of them would go under. Ireland had 30% of their businesses go under because they didn't recession proof their business. Let's talk about why, let's talk about how, and let's go through some case studies. And literally, this is generally where your 2 to 3 times revenue is sitting in your business, is just by slowing down for a second and paying attention to where your dormant sales are and how to keep your sales flowing and growing. And what would happen if you did stop marketing, right? So like for the Lucy Rose Clinic, for instance, when I went into the Lucy Rose Clinic, they literally, they thought they needed to spend more money on marketing. And the reality was that was not the case at all. They just needed to actually get more sales closed in the door. So a lot of people are asking the wrong question. Do you really need more lead generation, or do you just need to improve your sales processes and make sure that you're making the most of all of the sales opportunities that are in front of you? The good news is you probably don't need to do any more lead generation or advertising. You probably just need to look at your sales processes. So let's do that now. So sales is closing. What I mean when I say closing, closing is getting paid. So you're going to hear me use the words closing a lot, right? And when I say closing, closing means that you've issued an invoice, you've gotten paid, or you've collected, payment or gotten cash in your bank account, right? So what I want you to focus on is having total and complete control of your sales so that you can have salespeople, you can have sales system, you can have webinars, you can have presentations, you can have all kinds of other things happening so that you get more from your sales, you get some sales leverage, and the whole sales of the business doesn't automatically point to you, right? So you can have other people do it, so you can have other people sell for you, or you can have systems or presentations sell for you, or even emails sell for you. So let's put your sales on tap, okay? Let's make your sales repeatable, predictable, and look at everything is based on your numbers, right? Then we can work to hit them. So if we focus just on your numbers, if you think about your 12-month goal or your new financial year goal, what is it, right? What is it? So if you think about that goal, do you know how much revenue you want to hit, how many sales that you need, how much website traffic you need, how many presentations you need, or how many sales appointments you need, right? So ask yourself that question. If I walk into your organization today, how many sales appointments, how much website traffic, how many doors need to be knocked, how much do you need to hit your revenue goal? Most companies that I walk into do not have any idea. They don't have any idea because they don't know their sales conversions, right? So if you're to think about your sales conversion, what is your average sales price based on the last 3 months, and how many sales do you need to hit that goal in the next 120 days? Now, if you want, pause this video, keep this slide up, and you can do the math. But the reality is you need to be able to quantify what is the total number of sales appointments, website traffic, presentation, foot traffic, cold calls, proposals. How many do you need in order to hit your sales goal? If you were to back it into 120-day periods, right? So what are your KPIs and targets? Again, you can pause this video if you want, but basically the biggest thing that I find is most organizations, most businesses don't know how many sales appointments, how much traffic do I need, how many people do I need to watch my presentation, how many proposals do we need to do in order to hit our goal. So it's not scalable, right? By the time I get finished working with companies, or within the first month of working together, we're so clear on the total amount of phone calls, the total amount of website traffic, the total amount of proposals, the total amount of everything that needs to be done, that literally we can turn the business up and down and other people can do it for us. So I want you to be able to have the same exact thing. And it all comes down to knowing your numbers. You've got to know your numbers. So when you start to really think about this, where are you getting most of your sales? Is it from the website? Is it from the telephone? Is it from your business development managers? Where is it? So what are your conversions? Do you know? So like if you go back and you go through what I just went through and you hit pause and you go back and you do your sales conversions, go and see, are you getting most of your sales from your business development managers? Are you getting most of your sales from the telephone? Are you getting most of your sales from presentations? Where are you getting most of your sales? How are your current conversions going? Just the other day I did a lunch event, and this is probably why you're watching the presentation because you missed it. And one of the companies that was there, literally, they have three different options as to how to generate sales. Energetically, they're putting all their energy in big, big, big companies coming through and buying from them. But 95% of the sales inside of that current company are coming from literally BDMs, business development managers, people outside going and seeing people, but they're trying to close these big giant fish in a different way other than what's working, instead of working on maximizing the one thing that is working. And that's a 2 to 3 times in the business by just putting the energy on what is working. So I want you to just pause for a second and think, what are we doing that's working right now, right? And then if we could improve that or do better with that or focus more energy on that one thing, if it was a double or triple, how would that affect your bottom line? So do your conversions need to be higher? So right now, if you go and you look at what is working and you focus on what is working, how many people are your business development managers getting in front of? What is your current conversion? Does it need to be higher? If you got your conversion 10% higher, what would the impact on your financial bottom line be? These are just questions. Do you need more activity? What needs to be happening for you to have a different impact on your company or on your organization? So I'm going to give you an example so you can keep thinking in this line, okay? When I went to work with Laurel Langmeyer in 2010, this is where I first started, okay? She had lost all of her sales staff. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about recession proofing your marketing, okay? She lost all of her sales staff. They were bringing in close to $2 million a month. She had no marketing budget at all because the recession had just hit. And similar businesses around her were going bankrupt, okay? So imagine if you look around at your competition and you become the only person that still exists, or one of 3 or 5 that exists, and everybody's hurting, nobody's making money because everybody's business has gone down because the recession just hit, right? And she was in the position where she was either going to have to let her staff go and just figure out how to make it flow, or she needed to rebuild and get the right people and be profitable. Now, as a result of that, what was happening was there was a lot of money being left on the table because she didn't have enough people to follow up, right? And it was a different kind of people that needed to be involved because she went from literally leads pouring in like no problem. They had tons and tons and tons of people calling in wanting to buy right then and there to the phone completely stopped ringing. Just stopped ringing. The website traffic stopped, okay? So when I say recession proof, we're actually looking at what do you do when things stop so that you can have control. So you can turn it up and you can turn it down, okay? And the reality is Laurel was leaving a lot of money at the table and you probably are too, right? So are you hitting your sales goals? Okay, when I went and I worked with Laurel, literally what happened was within the first year, we ended up putting another 10 people on to actually just do sales, but everything was about outbounding, outbounding, outbounding. And within a year, just me personally, excluding all the other people, I had put an extra $1 million in cash in her business just on the telephone. That was just on the telephone. Forget emails, forget anything else, right? So the reality is you probably have money sitting around right now. She did, and this was in a recession, but you just have to pick up and shake it a little bit and maximize what you are doing. Because if you maximize what you are doing, then you can really grow. And sometimes it doesn't cost you any money. You just have to look at the right numbers, right? So right now, are you hitting your sales goals? Do you have sales leverage? Do you have videos? Do you have presentations? Do you have a sales team? And can people immediately purchase products from you today without anybody being involved? So let's look at the 3 things that will help you to convert more sales if you don't have these things. One is your message, one is your authority, and the other one is the biggest one, which is your sales metrics, which is going to help you figure out what you need to be doing quickly, right? So a lot of companies literally could make a game-changing move by improving their messaging. Okay? So what I mean when I say this is your emails, your website copy, the way that you get in front of people, just the one first thing that they see could literally take a lot of people who are looking at what you're doing and trying to figure out who you are and what you do and automatically turn them into sales prospects. So imagine if 10 to 25% of the people who go to your website right now all became a client. And that's possible if you get your message right, right? It's just about then looking at your metrics, okay? So let's look at what is the most important fact. Yes, the first and the this is the most important yes, and if you don't get this one yes right, it could affect everything. And that's your message and your copy, right? It's the very first yes. If you get your message and your copy right, the rest of this is easy. A presentation, if you get them into a presentation to see you, the first 5 minutes is most important. On the phone, the last 10 minutes is most important. And on a video, the first 3 seconds is most important. So all of these different companies have brought me in just to focus on one conversion, one thing, right? So when I came in, they weren't sure what the one thing that they needed to do was. But once we got in, we focused on one specific thing. And I'm talking like Freedom 360 and Knowledge Source. The very first thing they wanted me to come in and help them with was how do we increase our attendance by 1 to 5%? Because they knew if they could get a 1 to 5% increase in attendance, people that saw them, they knew that that would have a monumental impact on actually getting people to buy from them because they're so clear on their other numbers, right? 2 Men in a Truck, they knew they just needed to get more people who talked to them to buy from them. So they were getting 2,500 phone calls a month when I started. Now it's a lot more than that because they can scale it, but they weren't converting enough of those phone calls, right? So point of failure number one is your message. Is your message working? Are you getting new leads? Are sales converting easily? When you look at your website traffic, are a lot of those people becoming inquiries or paying? Could someone else sell for you? Can you deliver on a video or a report or a presentation to get sales? Like, do you have a sales letter, or do you have a video, or do you have a presentation that people can listen or watch to actually start buying from you? Point of failure number two is your sales conversation. So, do you have consistent annual growth? Are you profitable? Or do you have leverage? The good news is this is all just a system. So, if you look at your last 3 months of results, did you get new leads, new sales, sales from your presentation, sales from new leads, or sales from sales appointments? Right? So, ask yourself the question. If you're not sure, pause the video, go have a look. So, I don't know if you know Ogilvy, but he's like the originator of all sales copy, right? And he says advertising people who ignore research are as dangerous as generals who ignore the codes of enemy signals. For me personally, I would rather just get in front of the right people. I would rather just be talking to the right people. And I would rather just pay attention to what the people that I want to work with are looking for, right? So let's talk about 2 Men in a Truck. So when I started working with 2 Men in a Truck, they were leaving a ton of money on the table. They were spending $30,000 a month on advertising, and they thought they needed to spend more on marketing. So literally, they thought the only way we're going to be able to grow is if we spend more on marketing, but they were limited by budget, right? Because they have, they have a high service business, so their cost of doing business is really high, and they needed to look at a more creative way because spending more on advertising with their current, sales coming in wasn't really an option. They were already getting 2,500 phone calls a month. So, if they were to get more calls, it seemed like it was really busy, and the salespeople were telling them we just need more people to call in. But they were leaving a lot of money on the table. They had really bad conversions, but they didn't know this because they didn't do their numbers. So if you relate to this, just go up to the beginning, rewind this video, and go and have a look at your numbers again, right? But when we looked at their conversions, they were really, really, really low. So when they were actually getting in front of people or talking to people on the telephone, their conversions were quite low. And as a result, they were spending money on advertising. They had a lot of staff. They had a lot of things going on. They didn't have super duper high profit margins. So their cash flow was really tight. Now, when I went into 2 Men in a Truck, I immediately identified the fact that they had really poor conversions and really bad follow up, right? So instantly, the first thing we did was we tweaked just what was being said on the telephone. And within the first week, they had an 18% bump in sales in the first week, right? Just by using the right script. So everybody said the same thing, everybody had the same conversation, and literally they bumped straight away. Sales were the problem. It wasn't the marketing. It was not lead generation. They didn't need to do any more lead generation. In fact, they had the wrong people on the telephone. So we actually took less salespeople and we resegmented job roles so that we kept the right salespeople that were their strongest salespeople who were thriving with the new sales process, and we helped them stay in front of people. We also helped them get supported by actually having a system behind them with the right messaging that then got people to call them, email them, text them, and start to actually buy more from them, right? We reduced the number of salespeople. We didn't change a thing about the marketing spend. We just got more relentless in our follow up, and we got better about the conversation that we were having. And as a result, we exceeded their KPI, and their revenue doubled in 6 months. Now they've been able to increase, now 2 years later, they've been able to increase their marketing spend by 40%, and they have tripled their revenue, and they're still growing, right? So I want you guys to think about this for a second. Don't think you need more marketing. You probably don't need any more marketing. You probably don't need any more salespeople. 2 Men in a Truck didn't. They just needed to re-look at the customer journey. And when I say customer, I should say prospect journey, right? So what is being said from the minute that the customer looks at you all the way down to when the customer actually has a conversation with you. And then after the customer has a conversation with you, if they don't buy, what happens with that prospect? So really looking at that person's journey is very, very important. Very important. It could be worth a 3 times revenue increase or a 2 times revenue increase, right? So just pause for a second. If you don't know the answer to that, then just below this video, there's a link. You can come and you can schedule a time to talk to me. So point of failure number 3 is your authority or your brand messages. Now, for a long, long time, in fact, up until last year, I called this authority. But now this really interesting thing is happening called brand messaging. So now that we have social media, everybody is on social media. In fact, we're actually, people are hiring people off of LinkedIn. People are getting, they're getting a job application and they're having to look at someone and they're checking them out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. They're checking them out everywhere before they actually meet them or talk to them. And so are your prospects, right? They're looking at your reviews. They're looking at what are other people saying about you before they actually even talk to you or even give you their name, their phone number, their email. So your brand message / your authority, you're going to have authority because you've been in business for a little while, but your brand message is what the market sees you doing every single day or every single week. And holding a brand message that connects and makes people love you is really important, right? So remember I said that whole thing about love? It's remembering how much people like you and what you do. And guys, literally, we tweaked the brand message. I don't actually think I've got the Lucy Rose Clinic testimonial or case study in here, but I'll tell you about it now. With the Lucy Rose Clinic, they were having these really, really awful emails going out. Like, they didn't connect with people at all. And we literally, I think we've written 10 emails all up in the span of 7 months. And each email that goes out generates anywhere from 20 to one email generated 130 requests to books. Now, when I say a request to book, I mean that's a call where somebody wants to just give you their credit card number. So it's a 5-minute call. And one email literally went out just a couple months ago and it generated 130 requests to books. That's amazing, right? 130. When I first got there, they were only getting 35 sales a week. And now they're over 100 sales a week and they're on their journey to 200 sales a week, right? And we actually stopped 50% of the marketing because we can't handle more marketing because the sales process is fixed. You following me? And even if she totally stopped advertising today, if the Lucy Rose Clinic stopped advertising today, they would still be fine, right? And this is because they've got their sales process right, but they've got their brand message is the biggest thing for them. It was about communicating continuously in a way that people connected with them. And it wasn't happening before. This is a really big piece right now in 2018. This is a big piece. A lot of people don't stay in touch or regularly post content that people want to read. And it is a game changer because everybody is on social media. Everybody is connected to their phone. They're connected to their text message. They're connected to their emails. So let's have a look, okay? This is what was happening for the Lucy Rose Clinic when I went in. This is what was happening for 2 Men in a Truck. This is what was happening. I could keep naming, going down the list of all the different people, right? All the different companies. So let's just think about this for a second. Right now, do you have 3 to 6 month closing cycles? Are you having to discount on price? Are you reliant on referrals? Have you had the same revenue for the last year or 2 years? Or do you have really low closing ratios? Like, are you closing less than 20%? If any of this is happening for you, this could mean your authority or your brand message, that constant communication, is falling down. There's a company I'm working with right now, and for confidentiality reasons, I can't tell you who they are, but they basically have business development managers out on the road cold calling, right? So they're literally, when I say cold calling, door knocking, right? They're literally knocking on the different doors to get in front of their target market. Their average proposal is no less than $15,000. And they literally, some of the deals that have just come through in the last week, literally are 7-figure purchase orders, right? They're big, giant purchase orders. But one of the things that they're not doing is they're not continuously staying in front of their ideal clients. So their closing ratio is starting to drop. Because yes, it's great to have people door knocking all the time, but they can only do so much. They aren't going to knock on the same person's door every single day to remind them to buy from them. So one of the biggest things that we're starting to do right now, and already it's made an impact, and they're starting to get more people to call them back, is we're just posting a couple times a week content. And it's made such a big impact. Like, people forgot them and then they saw them on LinkedIn and they're like, oh yeah, and then they called them up because now is the time they're ready to buy. So think about this for you, right? So right now, are people seeing things about you, between the time that they first meet you and the time that they're supposed to buy from you? So if someone says, I'm going to be back in 6 months, we're going through some different transitions, our funding won't come in until the end of the financial year, whatever it may be, right? What's happening in between the first visit and the close? So strong authority and good brand messaging allows you to increase your pricing. It allows you to spend a lot less time selling. So if your salespeople, if your closers could spend more time closing, this is the difference. If your closers spent more time closing and less time trying to prospect or keep the client connected, what would happen to your business, right? You're going to get paid faster. You're going to have a lot more leverage. Your best salespeople, or you, will be able to spend more time just doing things that are going to get you paid. And you can get more salespeople to help you. So what do you need to do to strengthen your brand message, strengthen your authority, strengthen your sales process? So number one, you've got to educate people. You've got to help them understand why they need to buy from you in your messaging as soon as they hit anything that you send them to, whether that's an opt-in, a blog, a presentation. It's before a conversation ever happens, right? So what most people do is they just send them to a page that looks a little something like this, that has a free book and tells them to go opt in or tells them to go and do something, but there's nothing that actually tells them what's in it for them. People want to read right now. I could pull up thousands of video screen replays. There's a really, really cool software called Hotjar, Hotjar, Hotjar. And it lets you actually watch the user experience on your website. Now, the reason this is really cool is because we transferred our page that looked a little something like this, right, which was just direct, and we transferred it to a page that looked more like a blog and read more like a blog and got people who were actually looking at learning. And from that, the conversions are crazy. This has a 10% conversion off of cold traffic. 10% off cold traffic. So right now you might be sending people off of an email. You already have their email addresses or whatever it may be, or an EDM or whatever it is. That cold traffic is someone who's never, ever, 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 ever met you before, that you've just randomly gone out to in the blue sky, right? And we're getting a 10% opt-in with a telephone number and an email address, okay? So people want to read. People want to read. And what's ended up happening as a result of that is we're getting a 33% plus stick rate. So what I mean when I say that is 33% of the people or more come and actually show up to what they're supposed to show up to after they opt in. That's massive, right? We're having way higher quality. Like we're doing 5 million plus in business off of the back of the sales environment that gets set up off of a blog page like this, where they're reading and where they're actually learning something about what we're talking about. And people on average are spending between 7 and 15 minutes on this page reading before they express interest. So that's how important your messaging is. That's how important educating is. So how do you get your new lead to buy fast? Step 2, give value. So as soon as you do talk to them, this is not about you just talking about how they can start paying you and how much it costs. This is about showing them what you can do for them and showing how much value you can add, right? So for me, I mean, I might spend, like right now you're sitting here watching this presentation, we might spend 45 minutes before you even talk to me, getting to understand if I can help you or not, before you even get to the point that we actually have a sales conversation. And when I say sales conversation, that's like a strategy session to see if what I do actually can help you, right? And a lot of people rush this still, right? But ideally, if I'm going to talk to somebody, I'm going to show them the value that I can add first, or what's in it for them, and then let them choose whether or not it's worth it, right? And then from there, if they are interested or they want to take the next step, then I've got to show them why I am the person they should work with and show them all my case studies. If they want to talk to my customers, let them. Ideally, have video testimonials, because the reality is you don't want people talking to hundreds of your different customers. You need to show them that other people say you're as good as you are. So I really have worked really hard, and I still work really hard to keep video testimonials up so people can see the value in having me help them. And in the products and services space, reviews are big right now. So like if you're in a high consumer market, people aren't going to ask you for 5 or 6 referrals if they're going to be doing something like move or get their lawn mowed. They just want to see that other people in the general public are saying that you're awesome. So in consumer markets, having really good reviews is very important, because they're going to go look at it. You know, if you're a consultant, they're going to go look at what are other people saying about you, whether that's a recommendation on LinkedIn or a video testimonial, right? Help people understand from the point that they meet you that they've made the right decision, or they will make the right decision by choosing you from what other people say. We're in a consumer to consumer marketplace. And then the biggest thing, most people don't follow up in this country. In fact, it's the number one thing that if there was anything that Australians could take from Americans or from anyone in general, it's to follow up. And when I say follow up, if someone tells you to call them back, call them back. Like if it takes 21 calls, call them, right? I'll never forget when I was working with Jordan Belfort. Literally, we had a really big company who really wanted to, who said, yeah, I want to come. And it took me 31 phone calls to get them to actually get the sale across the line. But it was a big sale. It was a really big sale. We literally did 10 times the revenue in that one sale that we did with other people. So it was definitely worth following up. But if I hadn't have followed up, I would have never got it. And he would have never come because he was too busy working, right? Again, pay attention to what the research is saying. Pay attention to what's going on for you. Pay attention to your numbers. So you might be getting lots and lots of people expressing interest. You might be getting a lot of people to a sales call. You might be getting a lot of people to, from your business development team, but if your closing ratio is low, you probably have a problem with your follow-up. If your closing ratio is low and you have good follow-up, maybe there's nothing between the sales conversation and asking for the sale, right? If you're not getting people across the line right in the beginning, can you be doing a better message? You guys following me? So let's keep going. So the biggest point of failure I find is that people just don't know their numbers. And even big companies, like you do not know how many people, if you could get your best closer to stay in front, to get 2 more sales calls every single day, what would the impact on the business be? If he or she did 10 closing conversations a week on top of what they're doing, right? So extra, how would that affect your business, right? It's about turning the knob just a little bit. Turn your tap just a little bit and focus it on the people's best strengths, or use your system to allow you to have the best people or you in front of the most important sales conversations. So what are the numbers that you actually need to know? Okay, what are the numbers that you need to know so that you can grow, right? You need to know how many sales appointments you need to have a week in order to hit your revenue goal. That's number one. If I was one of those little staples in the US, but in Australia, I think it's Office Works, there's this really funny button that says, that was easy, right? And it's this button that you could press, right? If you were to have me in a button on your desk, one of the things I would say is, how many appointments do you have this week? How many appointments do you need to do this week, right? Sales appointments, sales appointments, sales appointments, sales appointments, sales appointments, sales appointments. So if you have business development managers, potentially it's down to how many doors they need to knock on to hit that goal, right? If it's sales appointments and you have someone on the telephone just doing consultative sales, they might need to go from 10 to 20 sales appointments a week, right? How many proposals, how many leads, how much website traffic, how much foot traffic do you need if you're in a food store? Like, how many people need to come by you? How many people need to see you? If you run events, how many people need to be in the room? Like, know your numbers. How many people do you need in order to grow your business, to scale up? If you were to take the notch up 10%, how many more sales appointments, event attendees, website traffic, foot traffic, proposals, how many do you need in order to scale it up? And if that number is really high, you probably need to fix your sales conversions, right? Which then goes back to the steps that I just led you to, right? But you've got to know your numbers. So go and check your sales matrix. How many messages are converting? How many sales conversations are converting? How many people are buying 6 months later because you're sending constant messages to them, or they're just sending you an email and saying, okay, I'm ready to go now? And how is your sales process running, and what's your closing ratio? These are the numbers to go and check. So how do you check them? Go and look at the last 3 months. What was your revenue? What was your number of sales? How much traffic did you get? How many leads did you get? How many presentations have you done? How many sales appointments have you done? So go and check your metrics. What's the failure? Where's your point of failure? Is it in your message? Is it in the sales conversation? Is it in the sales process? Is it in the stick rate? So is it happening in between the sales conversation and the closing call? Or are you not getting enough closing calls in between because there's a 6-month life cycle of the close? Is it in your brand message? Is it in between? Like, where is it falling, right? It can only be one of these 5 places, by the way. That's the really good news. And it's all very easy to fix. Are you selling directly from a presentation? Are you doing events? How's your closing ratio if you are doing events? Is it in your follow-up, right? So is it in your follow-up? So is it the fact that you guys are doing a lot of sales appointments, you're having a lot of sales conversations, but you're not converting enough to an actual sale? So when you look at your 120-day goal, and when you look at the numbers that you want to hit, now knowing this, how much revenue do you need? Like, what is your revenue goal? Go look at it, right? So now knowing this, how many sales do you need? How much traffic do you need? How much presentations do you need to do? How many sales appointments do you need to do? How many door knocks do you need to do? Are you following me? Your marketing is probably not the problem. It's the numbers that you don't know that are the problem, right? So let's pay attention. Do you need a better message? Do you need a better conversation? Do you need a more creative campaign to get people back in the door? Or do you have the wrong people on your sales team? So when I went into the Lucy Rose Clinic, literally, we have a brand new sales floor. She had a lot of the wrong people. She had lots of customer service people, but she didn't have any sales people, right? So we literally had to do a big giant recruitment campaign. Do you have the right people? Do you have the right systems? The other part that was wrong was the messaging was all wrong. She had the right systems in place, but she didn't have the right brand messaging happening, right? So if you don't know, that's okay. Most people have no idea. When we first start working together or when I first meet you, we'll figure this out quickly to see what it is that you need more of, right? Most people can earn a whole lot more in a lot less time. Like you're probably sitting on a 2 to 3 time revenue increase, but you're not hitting it because you're just missing one of these things, right? And you can get a lot of your life back, a lot of your life. So if you want me to have a look and see what's going on for you, just below this video, there's a button or there's a link where you can actually book in a sales review with me. And I'll go and I'll have a look at your numbers. We'll do your little metrics to figure out what's going on. And we'll quickly identify, is it your message? Is it your sales conversations? Is it process? Is it your presentation? Is it your brand message? Is it your copy? We'll figure out what it is, and I'll be able to tell you by the end of the call, it's about an hour, whether or not we can improve your conversions or what you need to do. It's very, very, very helpful, like very, very helpful. And this is exactly what I did when I started with 2 Men in a Truck. This is exactly what I did when I started with the Lucy Rose Clinic. This is exactly what I did when I started with Laurel. This is what I did when I worked with Jordan. This is work with Jordan, the Wolf of Wall Street. This is what I've done with every single person I've ever worked with, is we first went in to figure out what we needed to do, what the numbers needed to be, and then we put the process and the system in place. And even if that's down to the scripts and what people say, in order to hit it. And the reality is everybody more than likely can hit it. Sales is generally time management mixed with the right message and the right language and the right process. And it's literally the most beautiful thing on the whole planet because sales can completely be controlled by numbers. It's like math. That's all it is. Sales is just math. It's about doing the right thing every single day and then seeing if you can slightly improve the conversion, and that can make a massive difference. And it's all down to what's coming out of your mouth, what's written on your website, what's being handed to people, and how well you're staying in touch with people. So it's just, it's like a dance. It's just keeping the rhythm going on and on and on and on. Keep the rhythm, right? And that's all it is. So we'll be able to figure it out for you. So if you would like help, do me a favor. There's a button just below this video. There is a link, depending upon where you are, and book in a time and let's see what we can do for you. So thanks so much for your time. Again, this is Carrie Myton. And if you want to go and check out what I've done, you can go and look at my LinkedIn profile. And you can look at my website, carriemyton.com, or you can just book right into a actual sales appointment with me or a strategy session with me to see if we can help you. So thanks so much for your time. Look forward to connecting with you soon. Bye.